In this video, I'm going to be going over how to properly set up and execute a bench press. We're using the barbell here. If you're doing a dumbbell bench press or any horizontal type pressing where you're laying on your back and pressing towards the ceiling, mechanics and the technique is still going to be the same. The difference being when I have a dumbbell, I have the freedom to move my arms and my hands a little bit more to kind of get into a comfortable position. The barbell, I'm kind of stuck in one thing, so I'm going to be going over just the barbell, but this stuff all applies to any dumbbell horizontal press as well. So first step is going to be where the bench and the bar you want them to line up. Ideally, you want the bench set up so that when you're laying down, the bar is kind of right over top of your face. It's kind of like a good spot to be because that gives you the space to unrack it and get it out in position and not have to worry about hitting the rack or anything when you're going back up. So that's the first thing. Second thing is when you're laying down on the bench to get set up. You have to remember that your body weight laying on top of the bench is going to be enough to stabilize your shoulder blades in most cases. We don't need to over-exaggerate this idea of squeezing your shoulder blades back together. Just laying on top of them will kind of do that for us. So what I generally focus on is going to be getting set up with a certain amount of arch or chest position, and then what my feet are doing to make you really stable, to make it easy to press heavier weight. What you're going to be doing is when you lay down, I want ideally my feet to be flat on the ground if I can. If I'm not able to get my feet flat on the ground, you could always put plates or small steps underneath your feet to set them on so it's easier to reach there. But ideally, I tend to find it makes you a little bit more stable if I can get my full foot on the ground, because I can just pull a little bit of my feet towards me and then push into the ground, and that gets me some nice like glute and hamstring activation to really help me like stabilize there. As far as shoulders go, again, a lot of times we get taught to like just squeeze your shoulder blades down and back as hard as you can. You can see how that arches me up. But what that also does is it's going to limit my abilities for my shoulders to move where I need them to go. So instead of thinking that, what I'm instead going to do is just be focusing on trying to pull my chest towards the ceiling. And that's it. I'm not forcing my shoulder blades anywhere. I'm going to take shoulders away from my ears and then pull my chest towards the ceiling. You can see how that gets me in a similar position, but it gets there by a different way that is generally a lot more comfortable, and it still gives me the freedom to move my shoulders as I need to without unnecessarily locking them up. So feet are flat, pressure into the floor, pull your chest towards the ceiling. So I'm laying on my shoulder blades. That keeps me nice and stable here. And then as far as hand pressure on the bar, I have this bony spot on the outside of my palm. I'm going to go find that. And then I'm going to get the bar across my thumb meat, kind of like right in this arch of my hand here, so the bar is resting across my palms here. Wrap your thumb around the bar. We don't need to be doing suicide grip with our thumbs free. Make sure you have the bar on top of your palms here. The goal here as I go down, I'm going to be aiming this bar more or less for the bottom portion of my sternum or just below my sternum. What I'm trying to do is keep my forearm vertical. I don't want this to be too close to me because then my forearms have to change their angle, and my forearm dictates where the force is going. So if I'm coming down and my elbow starts to swing out like this, that means now I'm pushing more this way, and it's making my shoulder do some weird stuff in order to access that position. So as I come down, I'm trying to let the bar guide me here. I'm keeping my forearms more or less vertical and letting the weight just kind of guide me down, letting my chest open up until I touch my chest here, and then I'm just going to push to come back up. What I like to do to really help access some shoulder motions to get into these deeper ranges is think outside hand pressure on the way down. So there's bony spot there. I'm going to focus on the bar staying heavy on that part of my hand. That kind of helps get my shoulders and chest to open up. Then on the way up, I'm going to be thinking push through the thumb meat. So push through this inside part of your hand here into the bar to get you back up to the top. Once again, unracking. Going to think outer edge of hand, pinky side of hand on the way down to let my chest open up, and then thumb side of hand on the way up. As far as grip width and stuff goes, that is fully independent on your mobility, your length, arm length versus torso length, all these things, kind of your personal anthropometrics and bone structure. So that's kind of independent on you. Generally, just outside of shoulders is kind of a good starting point, and then kind of playing with it from there. If we used close grip, that just means slightly inside of your normal grip. That does not mean your hands are touching or anything. Wide grip would just be slightly outside of your normal grip. That does not mean you're going as wide as possible. So that's some verbiage that will usually come up with programs. As far as this is the traditional bench press right here, there's a lot of different variations. Some things we'll kind of do, we might do feet up on the bench press, we might do block press, all of those things, the principles stay the exact same, nothing really changes except for the positioning of other stuff. So say we're doing feet on bench press, I'd be the same setup position here, chest towards the ceiling, and I would put my feet up on the bench here and push down my feet into it there. And again, this just reduces my arch a little bit. And sometimes if this is uncomfortable, I might have people do the opposite and actually keep their back on the bench by using their feet and not lift their chest up too much here at all. So I should feel my whole spine on the bench. And from there, it gives us a little bit more options at our shoulders and actually opens them up a little bit more. So it's easier to get to the bottom, but it's also going to be a little bit nicer to anybody that's dealing with some low back discomfort with an arch or anything like that. So mechanics are always the same. Let's run through that one more time just to get a good handle on stuff. Again, I'm stabilizing by pulling my chest towards the ceiling. That's helping me get my shoulder blades set up there without actively trying to lock them in place there. Me just doing this will do it for me, and then me laying on top of them locks them there. So to stabilize what I'm doing, chest towards the ceiling, laying on top, feet pressure into the ground or into the bench to help me stabilize. And then on my way down, I'm thinking outside pinky side of hand pressure into the bar on the way down, thumb side of pressure to the bar on the way up. I'm trying to keep those forearms more or less vertical as a way to make sure that I'm transferring the load where I want to into the bar.